Okay. One, this gentleman. So I just let a Jaden into the room. I don't know your last name. So if you want attendance credit, you can just type it, because I think I have a couple of Jadens. So, and I don't know, maybe you're switching devices or something. Yeah, there's I think it's two different Jadens. I got that one. Oh, he's like, let me try to get it one more time. I think it's this student. So I just let a Jaden into the room. I have multiple Jadens, so you definitely want to have your last name showing so that I know which Jaden. And just as a general rule of thumb, you definitely want to have your student name showing. So if you're, if your last name isn't showing, then show it. So that, and then if your name is Jaden, I got Mr. Johnson. I don't know, but there's another one. So just make sure that I get your last name so I can update my attendance. Let's see. Let me share my screen. Man, it's like after lunch.
Wait, Professor,
Professor. Yes.
Professor?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you said what about Jonathan?
I have no. It's a couple of Jadens. So there's a Johnson. I think a Jaden Johnson. I got him, but then there's another Jaden that I don't have. I just needed him to kind of identify himself. Sorry, I was doing more attendance. But yeah, everybody else is fine. It's just there was one Jaden that came a little bit later without showing his last name, and I was just trying to make sure that I got the right person. Okay, so let's start here. Let me see. So for this group, the only real thing is, yeah. So I literally woke up like, I don't know. It's weird. It's so weird. Like I'm struggling to like stay awake. I had an alarm going off, and I thought I had overslept. I was like in a daze, but it would all work. So I was able to get started on time and all this. So let's see. So we're at the end of week 3, right? So last class, I know we had a little bit of like connection issues. I think I got to the bottom of it. I think that basically my device was like maybe I needed to like free up some space. That's probably why. But it was strange because I knew other people that was having trouble as well. So I was able to free up like most of the space on my hard drive. Because I don't have anything important on here. I just use it for like gaming and teaching. But anything that's important is in the cloud for me. So, I say that to say, hopefully it'll run smoother today. It did pretty well this morning. I didn't have any issues. And so with that, like we're on Monday, we did the best we could to get through section 1.3. I am going to rely on my pre-recorded lecture for that. So, you still are responsible for that content. Again, my pre-recorded lectures for the entire semester are available for the entire semester, right? They've been up since the beginning. You can actually watch them in advance. You do not have to wait for us to talk about this stuff. That's also why I went on and made all homework and quizzes available for the semester. So, if you just have time, if you have the gumption, if you get the inspired, if you get the inspired action or whatever, you can get ahead. You can watch those pre-recorded lectures because again, whatever's in those recordings are the same. It's pretty much the same thing I'm gonna say as if we were live. It's just not a live back and forth, right? So you can get ahead. So it's at least for section 1.3, I am going to rely on that. And so today, what I'd like to do is take some time to review as many questions as we can from the homework for sections 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 in preparation for exam 1. You can anticipate exam 1 to become available this upcoming Sunday. I think I usually schedule stuff like that for like 11 a.m. And you can earn up to 100% for the first 7 days. Past the due date, which is basically the following Sunday, it's a 10% late penalty. On any assignment that's on my math lab, if you have earned less than like a 90%, keep in mind you can always like redo it to improve your score. The highest you can earn on anything submitted late is a 90, right? But it's still unlimited attempts, and the system is going to take your highest score, right? So with that, whatever grade anybody wants, it's really just yours for the taking. You just have to devise a plan to take it, right? Okay, as usual, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself to get my attention. And let me check the chat one more time for any latecomers, and I'll be back. Let me see. Look at this student. Man, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely important to show your last name. I have a couple of like duplicate first names in this class, but I think we're okay for now. Let me check the chat. I'll try to say something there. Let me see. I'll come back to the first question. As far as a study guide, no official study guide, but you have, basically the exam is an amalgamation of the homework from sections 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. So, as long as you're kind of making your way through the homework, that's a good study guide for the exam. It's really just content pulled directly from 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. You still get unlimited attempts on it, but one caveat is you can't see your score until you finish the exam, right? So you finish the exam, you get a score. If you want to improve it, you're welcome to take it as many times as you like. All right? Okay, let's see what else we got. Okay, so give me just a moment, actually. That's actually a good question. So I know one of the students' free trial ends today. Let me reach out to my supervisor right now. Give me just give me a moment, because I haven't seen any update about that. Give me just a moment. Let me see. Say greetings. Is there been any update regarding has there been any update regarding the So I just sent him a message. Let's give him a few minutes to respond. So maybe remind me like about 15 minutes or so, and I'll call him to see. Hopefully he'll answer. He's not in class. Let's see. So we look good there. Let me check the chat. I know there were a couple other questions, so let me see. So we'll follow up on my math lab. We talked about the study guide. As far as attendance, yeah, it was really just, there was one student. I know there was at least a Jaden. I have at least 2 Jadens in this course. I got 1 Jaden. So long story short, it's a good idea. Just make sure that your first and last name is showing, so that, you can get your attendance credit, because without that, you might not get your attendance credit. And I don't want you guys to be like wasting your time. That was it really about attendance. Okay.
Wait, can you see my last name?
There's one
It
Jaden.
says in the Zoom, like it says like my last name is there.
There's one of them I can't see. Yeah, I can't
Oh,
see it.
you can, yeah, I just realized. But yeah, it says it like in the launcher. I'm Jaden L, but like,
Okay, I got you.
yeah, I'll try and fix it.
Let me see. I think I got you. But I think I got you. I think we're okay. Because then as we were kind of as I was scrolling through like my attendance, I realized I had a couple of Miles too, and I started to give a Miles that's not here credit, but then it dawned on me, I was like, wait a minute, I think I have multiple Miles. Like, we are definitely in the Spider-Verse for real. Like, and like, it's so trippy because one of the names, it looks like Miles Morales. I was like, wait a minute. It's not Miles Morales, but it just had that vibe to it. So that's neither here nor there. It's some really interesting names. Some really interesting names. I'm like, okay, I feel like some of those names might be related to celebrities and this, that, and the other. But anywho, let's take some time to try to go through as many questions as we can. And so I'm going to mimic what I did with my students earlier. So let's open up our assignments. This is our 2 p.m. Come on. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to actually unplug that for now. So it's not just. And let's actually start with section 1.3, right? Kind of by default, mathematics exams are cumulative, right? Like if I ask any question from a later section, the questions from the later section or the concepts and content from the later section is based on the previous, right? You can't do the later sections without knowing how to do the previous sections in general when it comes to math exams. So, so that's why I was like, okay, well, let me start with section 1.3 and we'll kind of work backwards a little bit. So I am monitoring the chat in Zoom. Matter of fact, let me open up my additional window here. I don't really want to switch. I want to join. That looks correct. Don't connect my audio. Turn off my video. Join. Stay as a participant. Got it. Cool. Okay. So which question do you think Google is going to choose for us, right? So like in the chat, feel free, if you just wanted to take a guess, just having a little bit of fun. Which question do you think Google's going to choose for us? I'm going to guess that Google's going to say question 13, right? Hey, Google, give me a random number between 1 and 21.
Here's a random number, 15.
Ooh, she's been doing, I don't know. I said 13, she said 15. She's kind of been choosing like the same questions all day. I'm like, how random is this, right? That's a whole nother topic in mathematics, like randomness of numbers. Okay, so this is question 15 from the homework. This specific one comes from section 1.3, question 41, right? So here we're asked to use the vertical line test. Okay, real quick. I feel like this is a good one for the reactions. So in Zoom, we're going to use the reactions. If you feel like the answer to this is no, we're going to do the clappy hands. If you feel like it's a yes, we're going to do thumbs up, right? So if we were to use the vertical line, we're going to use our reactions in Zoom. Again, no is going to be the clappy hands. Yes is going to be a thumbs up. So with the reactions, really quick. Wait a minute. Is this graph a function? If you feel like it's no, you would do the clappy hands. If you feel like it's a yes, you would do a thumbs up. Okay, I see some skin tones and okay, it's looking good, right? So I see a lot of clappy hands, which I think we agreed on is the no. No matter where, we can draw a vertical line in this image, it'll touch it more than once. So this is an example of something that fails the vertical line test. So this is not a function. Is it a function? We're going to say no. Let's do a final check. Nice. Okay, let's do another question. So in the chat, if you just wanted to practice your intuition, right? I'm gonna choose another number. I'm gonna say that Google's gonna choose. The next number we're gonna do is 9. That's my guess, right? So in the chat, real quick, what number do you think is gonna be next? If you just had to guess, we're just having some fun. I'm gonna say that it's gonna choose 9. Okay. Going once, going twice. Okay. I see a 4. Let's see. Hey, Google, give me a random number between 1 and 21. I see 11. I feel like
12.
12. Okay. Close. Okay. Uh-oh. Today's top psychic is pretty close. One student almost got it last time. Everybody's been close all day. It's kind of been dancing around. Let's look at question 12. And we have about like maybe 10 minutes per section. Right, we can take about 10 minutes per section because that gives us like 30 minutes, right? Find the domain of this function. Okay. Let's actually just use the chat for this. I feel like this might be a little bit easier in the chat. So, which answer is correct for this one? We're asked to find the domain. Is it A, all reals? Is it B, everything except 6 and 8? Is it C, everything except 2 and 4? Or is it D, everything except -4 and -2? All right, so just take a moment to see if you can solve this one. So, is there a brave soul that feels like they can walk us through this question? Is there a brave soul? Hey, Google, play the Jeopardy theme song. I'm gonna give you just a moment.
Playing Jeopardy theme song 1 hour on YouTube Music.
I'm gonna give you just a moment to see, just to think about it. Just take a moment. Oh, I'm realizing there might be some copyright. Let me stop this. Okay, hey Google, stop. Okay, that was enough of that. Just having some fun, right? My little sound effects or whatever. Anybody feel like they can do this? Okay, so with this, or in the chat, if you feel confident, what's the name of this type of function, right? And a hint is it begins with an R. What's the name of this type of function? You can either type it in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself, right? So the name of this, going once, going twice, this is what's called a rational function, right? Because it looks like a fraction. So whenever we're dealing with a rational function, what's the main thing whenever we're dealing with fractions? We cannot do what with the fraction, right? We have to be on the lookout for what. All right, let's take a moment. Going once, going twice. What is it with fractions that we have to be on the lookout for? All right. So with this whole experience, whoever does the most talking does the most learning. The only reason I know this stuff is because I talk about it day in and day out, like throughout time, right? So for me, it's like I'm not even thinking about it. Not that you got to be that proficient or anything, but just be careful about being completely passive and too quiet, right? Because if you're not really saying or engaging, your chances of it sinking in are reduced. But if you get some feedback, something live, you're talking, you're engaging, one, it helps the time to go by faster, and then two, it strengthens you, right? You're not going to lose anything. I try to make it as anonymous as possible. So with this, in general, for rational
sir.
Yes.
If I'm correct, the domain is -4 and -2.
Okay, what made you say -4 and -2? Why did you choose those numbers?
I solved. I try to find the value of the x with the denominator. See if it's different from 0.
Right. Let's see. Yeah. Go ahead.
Because I did for like the first equation, like the equation on the bottom. Then I took x. Then I took x plus 3. Then the top. Then same equation again.
Okay. So yeah, there's merit to what he's saying, right? So let's look at it. Let's take a look. For this one, let me actually write it out, right? So I think one of the suggestions was he was trying to find the values of x and makes the denominator 0, right? That's basically the main caveat. Whenever it comes to like these rational functions, or basically whenever you're working with fractions, we have to get rid of any x that makes the denominator 0, right? So a good idea is set the denominator equal to 0 and solve, right? So let's actually work this one out. I was going to talk through it, but I think it's a good idea. Let's write this one out. So let me start by getting a copy. But I think that what he was sharing was accurate, right? It was accurate. So let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's copy and delete. We're gonna hop over here. Okay. And I'm gonna let us paste. Can I just do this? Paste. Nice. All right. So here's a copy of what we just worked on, right? So find the domain, right? So again, in general, for rational functions, in general, the domain is all reals except any x that makes the denominator 0. So a good idea would be find the values of x that make the denominator 0. In other words, we're going to set the denominator, which is this guy. We're going to set it equal to 0 and solve. So now, this actually brings us to one key concept here. So the technique that we're going to be using here is called factoring, right? We need to be able to factor. So the reason this is critical is because we do expect you all to have some level of proficiency when it comes to factoring. Being able to factor is a prerequisite for this course. But okay, I think that you guys don't have the lab. I was going to piggyback off the lab. But if you feel like you need some more practice with factoring, I can provide you like some content as far as like an overview on factoring, and I have a whole chapter devoted to all the factoring scenarios. But you know, so something of this nature is like factoring a trinomial. So we have our x and our x. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us a positive 8 and add to give us a positive 6. And I think earlier we said 4 and 2, right? So let's do plus 4.
Yes, sir. 4 and 2. What, negative 4 and 2?
Let's see. So right now let's do plus 4 and plus 2, right? Notice that positive 4 times positive 2 is indeed positive 8. Positive 4 plus positive 2 is indeed positive 6, right? So again, let me highlight that. So that technique that we did first, we did factor, right? And then so now that we have two or more things that multiply to give us 0, we use this technique called the zero factor property, right? We use the zero factor property, right? So, and basically what that says is, whenever you have two or more things that multiply to give you 0, either the first thing equals 0 or the second thing equals 0. So basically you set each factor to 0 and solve, right? So if we say x plus 4 equals 0, or we say x plus 2 equals 0, right? And so then when we solve from here, we'll get x equals negative 4 or x equals negative 2, right? So long story short, what we're saying is that when x is either negative 2 or negative 4, that creates a 0 in the denominator. So we have to throw out x equals negative 2 and x equals negative 4, right? And I'll put a slash through, right? Because we want to throw those two out. So if we want all numbers except these two guys, okay, so let's look at the number line. Okay, so then here is, like, let's say this is our negative 4, here is our negative 2, and we want to capture everything except these two numbers, right? So then the far left, if we go completely in this direction, that's going to be all the way down to negative infinity. So we want everything left of negative 4. We want all the numbers between negative 4 and 2. And we want everything to the right of 2. But because we do not want to include negative 4, we're going to use a parenthesis on either side. All right, so the parentheses mean we get really, really close to that number, but we do not include that number. Again, we get really, really close to negative 2, but we do not include negative 2, right? So this is the graph of the solution. And then once you have the graph, I feel like that's the easiest to generate the interval notation. So then the far left is negative infinity up to negative 4. And then we want all the numbers from negative 4 to negative 2. And then we want all the numbers from negative 2 to infinity. Infinity always gets parentheses, okay? And again, because we don't want the negative 2 and the negative 4, these endpoints all get parentheses, and we combine these different sets with a union. This is a special character, it's called union, right? And so I think that indeed is D, which was suggested earlier, right? And that's the backstory. Now, let's hop back over. That was awesome. Thank you, by the way. That was awesome. I knew you guys could do it. Let's see if this thing decides to act. There we go. So I agree with D. When I did it by hand, we got that. Before we submit that, right? I'm confident in D, but like, suppose you're working by yourself and you're just stuck. Like, say you get something like this, you're like, okay, well, what do I do, right? In the bottom left-hand corner, notice it says get more help. So I'm going to click on that, right? So then we have these options that pop up. So because of this like little option bar here, the support here, this is why I feel like Pearson is the best, right? Nearly every question has the view an example, right? I guess now I personally don't recommend to help me solve this. I had a student earlier that said he likes to help me solve this. So, you know, It's totally okay. You know, whatever your prerogative, anything to kind of help you guys to get through this content. I think he said he likes how it breaks it down, which is cool. I personally prefer the view and example because it gives you an explanation to the reasoning or the logic behind it, right? So basically what it does is it gives you the same question with different numbers, right? And then so you can kind of read through that, and it has 3 parts. Am I missing somebody? I might be missing somebody. Morehouse! But, you know, you can go all the way, and it'll give you an explanation behind what's going on with these questions, right? And so you can get a better sense of what you need to do. Right. And then also this one also comes with a video tutorial. It gives you a link directly into this section, into the textbook, right? So Pearson has a digital copy of our text. So you don't have to carry around a physical book. As long as you have like power in your device and you can get on the internet, which is most of the time, you can access the e-textbook. So then the Ask My Instructor, I think, is very powerful as well, but let me offer this caveat. My recommendation is the order of priority. I would recommend first you do what you can on your own. Second line of defense is maybe the view and example or help me solve this little get more help tool here on Pearson. Third line of defense is possibly a classmate, right? So if you have a classmate that's getting it, that's willing to work with you, then that's your third line of defense. Fourth line of defense would be the tutors, right? The tutoring service is included in your tuition. In other words, you've already paid for the tutors. So, you know, I would encourage you, like if those first 3 just are not working, you can take this material and connect with the tutors and sit down with them and say, hey, can we work on this together, right? And they're just sitting there, you've paid them, they're sitting there waiting for you guys to show up. So I'm okay with you taking this content with them, sitting down and working with them together. Now, once you've done all 4 of those things, if that doesn't work, that's the best time to use the Ask My Instructor. My experience has been that when students use the Ask My Instructor without doing that other stuff, and I give the explanation, it just goes right over the head. They kind of like get into a daze. They kind of be like swaying back and forth, like, you know, finishing move from Mortal Kombat. You know, it's like, finish you, right? That's what they look like to me. But because it's clear that like, you got to think about it first. You got to be frustrated just for a little bit of time. Don't be so frustrated that you completely give up, but don't not be frustrated that, you know, when I go to give the explanation, it won't sink in. But when the students have done all that other stuff first, and then they start using the Ask My Instructor, I give the exact same presentation, then you can see the light bulb go off. They're like, oh, I forgot to do so-and-so, or, oh, I thought I could do this. Like you can see it's a noticeable difference. Now, what is my dog doing? She is like sticking her head someplace she ain't got no business being. Anywho, yeah. So I just found that when students do all the other stuff first, and then they use the Ask My Instructor, when I give the same presentation, it sinks in, it takes effect, right? You can see the light bulb go off, right? But you can try doing the Ask My Instructor first. And basically what it does is it takes a screenshot, sends it to me, then I'll respond as soon as I can, right? So with that, let's go ahead and submit D. We are running a little bit short on time. That was good. Okay. Let me check. Let me see if we got any people in the waiting room. So I did get an email. It's fine. Okay, you guys look good. Okay, let me check the chat. That's okay? That's okay? Cool. Oh no, but we got them. Yeah, that's okay. All right, so let's kind of move to section 1.2, right? So we did a few examples from 1.3. Again, our time is precious, so, you know, I felt like 1.3 was an appropriate place to start, considering what happened last class. Let's take a few minutes on section 1.2, and then a few minutes on 1.1. Which question do you think that Google's going to choose first between 1 and 22? Right? What question do you think? You know, you can type your response in the Zoom chat. What question do you think? I'm going to go with 4. I'm thinking it's going to say question number 4. All right, what do you think? Okay, we got what, 1 to 22? Hey, Google, give me a random number between 1 and 22. I see 17.
9.
Ooh, 9. Okay, well, 9. All right, let's go with 9. I don't know if you've ever seen this series on Netflix called The Good Place. That's one of my favorite series. I was so sad when that series ended, but I bring that up because I oftentimes feel like the character on there called Chidi is his character. He cannot make a decision to save his life, right? And so my way of making a decision is using the thing to generate random numbers, right? But if you haven't seen that series, it was really interesting. I enjoyed it. It's a little bit slow. It's like 4 seasons, give or take. But I really enjoyed that series. But anyway, that's random. Okay. So in this example, get down. Thank you. In this example, it says find the equation of the line with the given slope and intercept. So they gave us the slope intercept, right? So if we have the slope intercept, then it's a good chance that we'll be using the slope intercept formula, which is y equals mx plus b. Which series? It's called the good place. Series is called the good place. And like I got a notification that they're supposed to be doing like a One Piece. I don't know if it was live. I have not watched One Piece, but when I talked to students in the past, they were like, yeah, One Piece is good. I could not get past those first few episodes of One Piece because it was just so boring. I was like, I can't watch this. But I've seen I haven't gotten caught up on Attack on Titans. I haven't finished Boruto. I've seen like all of Naruto Shippuden, all of that from the very beginning. I got through Boruto to the point where Boruto finally acknowledges Naruto, and then I just let it go. But there's a lot of anime I got to get caught up on. I got to finish My Hero Academia. Like I got a crap ton of stuff. Oh yeah, Good Place. Yeah. Like I like to use like the holidays, like the winter break or the summer break. Those are the times when I'll like binge watch stuff like that. Okay, so with this, we want the slope intercept form, right? So I think I can type it. I'm gonna just type it right here in this window. Let's go like this, turn this off. Okay. So I'll just take some notes here and you should be able to follow along. So we're gonna work with y equals mx. Let me see. You're not gonna work today? Try this again. Okay, I think I gotta go like this and like this. Okay. Y equals mx, no? What's the deal? Why aren't you typing? You gotta jump the gun. Why don't you type? There it is. Yeah, just tripping. Mx plus b, right? So slope intercept. So we're going to work with y equals mx plus b. They gave us the slope. If the slope is 0, that means our m is 0. So then that first term is gone. And the y-intercept is -3. So long story short, it looks like we just have y equals -3. So with the slope of 0, that's going to be a special line, right? What kind of line is that going to be? It's going to be a flat horizontal line. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Vertical lines have an undefined slope, right? But this one, the slope is 0. That means we have a horizontal line through y equals -3. Type your answer in slope intercept form. I think we're good to go. So we're just going to go with this. Yeah, the good place is long. It just got to have some time. I think for me, I had it like playing in the background when I was like grading or something like that. And then, I don't know, they just started exploring like interesting concepts. It was just interesting to me. And it was just silly. It's silly and interesting. But the ending wasn't awe-inspiring, but it was like, to me, it was really spiritual, right? It was really interesting. That's neither here nor there. Okay, let's do another question. We got right at 10 minutes remaining. Let's do maybe 1 or 2 more from here. Which number do you think Google is going to choose for us? Which number is it going to choose? I'm going to go with 16. All right, what number do you think? All right, let's give it a moment. Going once, going twice. I see 11. Okay, let's see. We're just practicing our intuition. Let's see. Hey, Google, give me a random number between 1 and 22. 5. I knew I should have said 5. She said 5. She said 5 like 3 times earlier. I was like, yo, if you don't say something other than 5. Okay, so let's look at this. Find an equation in slope-intercept form. That means what? Y equals mx plus b of the line that passes through the given point and it has that slope. Okay, with this one, let me see. Also sketch the graph by locating the second point using the rise and run method. Okay, let me actually get a copy of this guy and we're going to take some notes. So if I'm going to take notes, let's take it from about there. This will be the last one from the section, and then we'll try to do 1 or 2 from 1.1. We'll try to do a couple of questions from 1.1, depending on our time. If I can get this stuff to behave. Oh my goodness, it is not behaving. Come on. There we go. We got that one working. A lot of times when I'm talking, I'm stalling, trying to get the stuff to work, so it's not so much dead air, right? Okay, let's copy and delete, and we're gonna hop right here. And I'm gonna paste this. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Paste. Nice. All right, we are in business. Oh, right there is good. Okay. And so I included the question ID, right? So if you were looking at this, reviewing this content later on, you see where it says this 1.2.11, that's the question ID. That's telling you where in the text you can find this question. So that means this question comes from section 1.2. It's like question number 11 from the back of that, from the end of that section, right? So that's the question ID, okay? All right, slope intercept form. Now, generally, this is something where we typically would start with the point slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. But, you know, I've had students say, well, you know, I started with y equals mx plus b, and I thought about it. And additionally, I saw in the text somewhere where it was like, yeah, you can actually just start at y equals mx plus b, right? So I'm going to start there. I just prefer to start there, right? So we'll start with the slope intercept. We're going to start with y equals mx plus b, right? Thank you. All right. Let's plug in what we have. What are we given? So we have that the slope is a -5/3, okay? We're given this ordered pair, this x comma y. So x is what, 3? We don't know the y-intercept, and our y is 1. Notice here, when we plugged in information that we were given, we have everything. We have one equation, one unknown, so we can solve. Every time we have an unknown, we need an equation, so we can actually solve this guy. Okay, so if we start to do algebra, right, we have a 3 divided by 3, so this 3 is canceled by this guy. So then we have, if I continue to line up my equal signs, now we have 1 equals -5 plus b. We can add 5 to both sides, and we'll get b equals 6, okay? So we solved for the y-intercept, so then let's put it back into our equation. Our equation is going to be y equals our slope, -5/3x plus 6. This should be the equation of the line in slope intercept form that passes through the point 3, 1 with a slope of -5/3, right? They gave us the slope, we found the y-intercept, then we plugged in the slope and y-intercept to get our equation, right? Let me submit this on Pearson. Let's see how do we do. We got a -5/3x plus 6. We got, come on. -5/3x plus 6. Okay. I'm gonna hit enter. All right. So then we're asked to sketch the line. Okay. I'm gonna go here. We said what, +6. So the line tool is the top right. So I'm going to click there. And I'm actually just going to click in 2 random locations. All right. I just clicked in 2 spots. So now I'm going to move these points after the fact or retroactively. So our y-intercept was 6. And then we can use the slope to get to a second point. So if the slope is a -5/3, that means if we go down 5 and right 3, that's our second point. That'll put us at, what is that, 3, 1? So our second point, I'm just going to drag it over to 3, 1. So we kept the y-intercept. Sorry. Yeah, the y value is 1, the x value is 3. I think this is good. Let me hit save. All right, we get something like this. And let's submit it. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Let's do one question from section 1.1, as we're just about out of time. That's fine. So I made a prerequisite where basically you have to find my YouTube. I think it's going to choose question 17. All right, what question do you think? Going once, going twice. Hey, Google, give me a random number between 1 and 20.
4.
4. It was way off. My intuition is like, meh. Okay, 4. Let's look at question 4. Determine whether the 3 points are collinear, right? So there's at least 2 different ways to go about this. I'm just going to offer one. You could always use the get more help, view an example, and the view an example is going to explain it one way. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to share what I think. So in order for these 3 points to be on the same line, now I think what they did, they found the distance between the 3 different pairs. And then if they're on the same line, the sum of the 2 shorter distances should equal the longer distance, right? So you can use the distance formula, but you would have to do it 3 times. What I'm going to do, I'm going to find the equation of the line through 2 points and then confirm or deny whether the 3rd point is on that line, right? So to me, it looks like the first point and the last point are the easiest to work with. So I'm going to find the equation of the line through the first and the last, and then confirm or deny whether that 3rd point is on that line, right? So let me start by getting a copy. Okay, I'm trying to get you all out of here because we're out of time. I'm just going to get a copy. Okay, done. Let's copy and delete. We're going to hop over here. Come on. Thank you. And let's paste. Nice. All right. We are cooking with grease now. All right, that looks good. Okay. So let's try to be a little bit quick here. I want the equation of the line between 2 points. So I'm going to use 2 formulas. I'm going to use a slope formula. Let's undo, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm also going to use my y equals mx plus b. Okay. So first, if I find the slope, and I'm going to say x1, y1. I'm going to say my x2, y2. I'm just choosing those two points. Okay. So then it would be what? 2 minus negative 8 divided by 2 minus 0. So that's going to be a 10 divided by 2. So it looks like the slope is 5. Okay. And then it looks like the first point they give us the y-intercept is negative 8. So we're given that our y-intercept is negative 8, right? From the first one. Because when x is 0, y is negative 8. So then my slope-intercept, my y is going to be equal to 5x minus 8, right? So this should be the equation of the line through that first point and that last point. I'm going to confirm or deny that confirm that the first 2 work, and then we'll test that 3rd point. And I think to do that, okay. So notice that when x is 0, we get our negative 8. So that first point checks out. So that one works. When x is 2, 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 8 is indeed 2. So that last point works. So now we want the moment of truth, right? When x is negative 3. When x is negative 3, that's a negative 15 minus 8 is what? Negative 23. But they got negative 22, right? So it's close. If you were to plot that point, if you tried to eyeball it, it's going to look close, but it's going to be off, right? So that 3rd point fails. It's close, but it's not on the line. So are the 3 points collinear? We would say no. Right? If there were a negative 23 instead of negative 22, it would be a yes. But because it is what it is, are the 3 points collinear? No. Okay, final check. Nice. Okay. And that brings us to the end of class. Are there any burning questions before we go our separate ways? Any burning questions? Let me go ahead and make a copy of what we worked on together available. Let me make sure it's in the right location. The test is due a week from this Sunday. It'll become available this Sunday. It'll be due a week from this Sunday. This is the fall. This is traditional. Into the notes. That's fine. You can go there. Send it there. Send the box. Okay. So when this bar finishes loading, you'll get a copy of anything that we worked on together. And Yeah, one student earlier asked, is there a study guide? I was like, no, the homework kind of serves as a study guide, right? The exam is going to be basically the same as the homework, just a different presentation, right? You still get unlimited attempts. It's still going to take your highest score. You can earn up to 100% for the first 7 days. Past the due date, the highest you can earn on any question submitted past the due date is 90%. Okay. Again, exam 1, you can anticipate it to become available this upcoming Sunday at 11:11 a.m. Yes, there are also unlimited attempts on the exam. But the thing with the exam is you don't know your score until you finish the exam, right? So that becomes a game of endurance. You know, like if you get a score, you don't like the marks, you're welcome to take it again. You can take it as many times as you like until you get whatever score you like, you know, within those certain bounds, right? Okay, if there aren't any burning questions, we're going to end the session here. And from one beautiful mind to another, have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. Take care. Peace. Thank you. Oh, yes, I'm glad you asked that question. So let me call him right now. Yeah, let me call. Give me a moment. Did he reply? No. Let me call him.
All your emails. So would you check and see? Those students need to see if that extension has been granted.
Okay.
They should be extended for at least another 2 weeks.
Okay. I'll let him know.
Let them know. If you have any problems, get back with me and let me know, okay?
All right. Thank you. Peace.
And thank you.
My pleasure. So the verdict is they're supposed to be extending the 14-day trial for another 14 days. All right. So that's the verdict with that. Okay. So you should have an email. So check your Morehouse emails. If it hasn't been extended, either contact the math office or the bookstore. Is one of those two sources. I just got off the phone with like the mathematics department chair. But yeah, the whole point is it's supposed to be extended for another 14 days, right? So just kind of follow up with that. Because I think that this is supposed, it was supposed to be resolved before the semester started. It just didn't happen. So, okay, guys, I'm gonna log off and you know how to reach me. So, okay, guys, take care. Have a great weekend. Was that in the stream? Cool, that was in the stream. That's exactly what I wanted. Cool. Okay, guys, take care. Peace.